Whispers of extinction. The city of Riven was built from crystal and steel, its towers glowing faint blue under the twin suns. Bridges of transparent glass hung between spires, and airships drifted lazily through the sky. To an outsider, it looked like paradise, but to Elias Kane, it was a cage. The former Earth soldier stood at the balcony of his cramped dwelling, staring down at the streets far below. The Alari Empire ruled this world, and every corner had soldiers in black armor, their insect-like helmets hiding expression. No laughter filled the streets, only the quiet shuffle of obedience. The people were afraid to speak, afraid to look up. Elias had lived here for 7 years, hiding his past, working as a mechanic in the shipyards. Earth had fallen silent long ago. No signals, no ships, nothing. To most of the galaxy, humanity was extinct. The Empire had spread that rumor well, and Elias never dared correct it. He knew what happened to those who defied them, but he still remembered the war, the invasion of Sol, the burning of Mars colonies, the desperate defense fleets of Earth, and the silence after. He had been captured, taken as a slave, traded, and finally abandoned on Riven. He thought humanity was gone. He thought he was the last. Until today, a low hum shook the air, subtle but strange. Elias leaned forward, eyes narrowing at the horizon. The city sky was busy with normal traffic traders, patrol craft, pleasure yachts. But then the hum grew louder, deeper, like thunder trapped inside metal. The people in the streets stopped. They looked up. Out of the clouds came a shadow. Massive, dark, angular. It didn't match any Alari design. Too sharp, too human. Its hull bore scars of war, but across its side was a faint marking. Uns Andromeda. Elias's chest clenched. He grabbed the balcony rail as his knees threatened to give out. His breath caught in his throat. He whispered, voice shaking, "Earth survived?" The crowd screamed. Alari patrol craft swarmed upward, their sleek black ships darting like hornets. Sirens blared through the city. The Empire had ruled unchallenged for centuries. Yet here, above Riven, floated the one thing they feared most. An Earth warship. Andromeda didn't fire. It just hovered, engines growling like a beast, waiting to strike. A message crackled through the comnet, audible across every device, every speaker, every implant. This is Captain Myra Holt of the United Nations Stellar Navy. To all humans, you are not alone. To the Alari Empire, your lives end today. Elias's heart pounded. His hands shook. Tears stung his eyes. Someone else was alive. Humanity was back, but he knew what would happen next. The Empire wouldn't let this stand. Blood would fill the streets. He had two choices, stay hidden or step forward. And Elias Kane had never been good at hiding. The war had come to Riven, and he was about to be part of it. The hidden mechanic. The Alari governor declared martial law within minutes. Armored soldiers marched through Riven, dragging suspected rebels into the streets. The air stank of fear. Elias worked in Dock 9, where merchant freighters landed. His boss, a nervous insectoid named Vera, pulled him aside. "Elias," she hissed, her antennae twitching. "You must not go outside. They are hunting humans. The Empire says you are extinct." But she stopped, mandibles clacking nervously. "I know what you are. I have always known." Elias stiffened. His hand drifted toward the wrench on his belt, but Vera raised her thin arms. "Peace. I never told them. You repaired my ship when no one else could. You treated me fair. I will not betray you, but you must flee. Now." He shook his head. "If I run, they'll track me. They'll kill you for hiding me." She looked at him sadly. "Then what will you do?" Elias stared at the sky. The Andromeda was still there. Still. Silent, surrounded by Alari warships. It hadn't fired. Maybe it was waiting. Maybe it was testing the Empire's reaction. He clenched his jaw. I'm going to get aboard that ship. Vera recoiled. Impossible. The city is locked down. The docks are guarded. The skies. That's why I need your help, Elias cut in. You know the underground tunnels, smuggler routes, old fuel passages. Get me close, and I'll find a way. She hesitated. Fear rolled off her in waves. But then she saw his eyes, the fire in them. She clicked her mandibles softly, a Lari sign of reluctant respect. I will take you, she said. But if they catch us? We won't get caught, Elias said. He hoped he believed it. That night, as the city burned with riots and the Empire dragged people into custody, Elias and Vera slipped into the underbelly of Riven. The tunnels were damp, full of rusting pipes and glowing fungus. Rats the size of cats skittered in the shadows. Elias carried only a pack with tools and a stolen blaster. His soldier days had ended years ago, but old instincts stirred with each step. Vera led the way, antennae twitching at every sound. The Andromeda will not stay long, she whispered. The Empire will summon a fleet. If you do not reach your ship before then. Elias nodded. Then it's over. They reached a hatch that opened into the open-air docks. Above, the night sky burned with fire trails Ilari ships moving to surround the Andromeda. The Earth ship remained still, silent, waiting that Elias took. A deep breath. His heart thundered. This was his chance. His one-shot dot, and if he failed, humanity's last hope would burn in the sky. The Empire's fleet was already on its way. Asterisk. Boarding the Ghost, the dockyard above Riven was chaos. Sirens howled. Klaxons blared, and Ilari soldiers swarmed the landing pads. The Empire had locked down every ship, setting up scanners to identify stowaways and rebels. From the shadow of a broken fuel conduit, Elias and Vera watched the soldiers pace in sharp formation. Their black armor gleamed under the floodlights, rifles humming with lethal energy. Beyond them, the open sky beckoned. The Andromeda hovered like a phantom above the atmosphere, a predator surrounded by jackals. Elias gripped the blaster tight. His palms were slick with sweat. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but there was nowhere left to run. How do we get past them? Vera whispered, mandibles trembling. Not past, Elias muttered. He pointed to a small freighter clamped to the dock. Its engines were cold, but its underbelly maintenance shaft was open. Through. Vera tilted her head. That leads nowhere. It leads up, Elias said grimly. Every ship here has long-range comm gear. If I can patch into one, I can send a signal to the Andromeda. Maybe, just maybe, they'll notice. Vera hesitated, fear radiating from her. But she nodded and followed as Elias sprinted low to the ground. They dove beneath the freighter, slipping into the cramped shaft. The air was thick with grease and ozone. Elias crawled, his shoulders scraping metal, until he found the cum junction. He ripped open a panel, sparks biting his hands. His soldier's mind woke fully now years of combat engineering, hacking, and desperation. He bypassed circuits, rerouted power, and fed in a manual code he never thought he'd use again. UNSN Priority Handshake Protocol. Static filled the small console screen. Then a voice. Who is this? Asterisk. Elias's chest clenched. The voice was human. Flat, cautious, but human. This is Elias Kane, former UN Marine Corps. Serial number 2147A. If you're really who I think you are, you're not alone up there. Silence. Elias's heart pounded so loud he thought it would burst. Then the voice returned, sharper this time. Stand by. We're coming for you. The cum cut. Elias sagged against the wall, breathless. Vera stared at him. They answered you. He nodded, a shaky grin tugging at his mouth. They're real. They're here. But outside, the Ilari had noticed something. The soldiers barked orders. Scanners sweeping the freighter. One of them shouted, "They've found us," Vera hissed. Before Elias could respond, the night sky tore open. A streak of light screamed down, faster than anything the Ilari could track. It slammed into the dockyard with a concussive blast, throwing soldiers aside like rag dolls. Out of the smoke rose a dark shuttle, hull marked with the Earth insignia. Its side hatch burst open. Figures in battered combat armor poured out, rifles. Blazing humans double quotes move. One of them shouted, "Elias Kane, get to the shuttle." Elias's heart lurched. He scrambled from the freighter, dragging Vera with him. Blaster fire cut the air around them, soldiers dropping on both sides. The human squad carved a path like a knife, brutal and efficient. Elias and Vera dove into the shuttle. Hands grabbed. Him pulling him inside. He met the gaze of a scarred soldier, visor cracked but eyes blazing. "You're coming home, Moran," the soldier growled. The hatch sealed. The shuttle roared skyward, engines shaking Elias's bones. Outside, Ilari. Fighters swarmed like angry wasps. Plasma bolts rained around them. But above, the Andromeda waited. Its massive hangar doors yawned open, glowing with welcome light. The shuttle shot inside, just as enemy fire slammed the hull. The doors sealed shut. Silence followed. Elias collapsed onto the deck, gasping, staring up at the ceiling of the warship. His chest burned. His hands trembled. He was aboard. He was alive. He wasn't alone anymore. But then a shadow loomed over him. A tall woman with dark eyes, wearing the uniform of a ship's captain. She studied him like a hawk sizing up prey. "Myra Holt," she said simply, "Captain of the Andromeda. And you, Elias Kane, are going to tell me how the hell you survived when Earth thinks we're the last." Her words cut him deeper than any blade, because in that moment, Elias realized something terrifying. The crew of the Andromeda believed Earth had already fallen. The last ship of Earth, the hangar of the UNS Andromeda, was unlike anything Elias had seen in years. Steel, not crystal. Function, not ornament. A warship's bones. The scent of oil, coolant, and recycled air filled his lungs, and for the first time since his capture, Elias felt like he could breathe. But Captain Myra Holt's gaze kept him pinned. She stood tall, shoulders squared, uniform scuffed from years of hard service. Her hair was streaked with silver, though she was no older than Elias. Her eyes hard, calculating, never left him. Soldiers lingered nearby, rifles lowered but not forgotten. "You're supposed to be dead," Myra said flatly. Elias swallowed. Throat dry, "So were you." That earned a flicker of something in her eyes, surprise, maybe, or suspicion. "Earth fell," she continued. "The Empire burned Mars, cracked Luna's colonies, cut our fleets to pieces. We were there. The Andromeda jumped before the blockade closed. We've been fighting alone ever since. A ghost ship, striking where we can. Every report we've intercepted says Earth didn't make it." Elias's chest tightened. "No. Earth held. At least, it did when I was taken. We were still fighting." Myra stepped closer, her voice dropping to a low growl. "Then why haven't we heard a single word in 7 years?" The hangar was silent. Every soldier's eyes bored into Elias, demanding an answer. He shook his head slowly. "Because the Empire wanted it that way. They told the galaxy humanity was gone. Easier to rule through fear than risk rebellion. If the other species thought humans survived, they might resist." One of the soldiers scoffed. "So we're supposed to take your word for it?" Some castaway who's been living with aliens? Vera shifted nervously beside him. Elias clenched his fists. I don't expect you to trust me, but I've seen it. I've lived under their boot. And I know this. He pointed toward the hull, toward the black void where Ilari ships swarmed. The Empire fears you. That's why they keep the lie alive. And if Earth still breathes, then your ship isn't just a ghost. It's a beacon. Myra studied him for a long moment. Finally, she nodded once. You'll tell me everything, but later. Right now. An alarm screamed through the hangar. Red lights flashed. Captain, to the bridge. The intercom barked. Myra spun on her heel. With me. The bridge Elias had almost forgotten what a human warship bridge looked like. Rows of consoles, glowing tactical displays, officers moving with purpose, not fear. The viewport stretched across the front like a window into death, and death was coming fast. Dozens of Ilari cruisers had formed a blockade around the Andromeda, black hulls gleaming under Raven's twin suns. Their weapons powered up, bright orbs of energy crackling at their tips. Status? Myra demanded. Shields at full. Engines hot. We're outnumbered 30-1, the tactical officer replied calmly. Mira's jaw tightened. They'll expect us to run. Elias couldn't help himself. They'll expect you to die. Every eye turned to him. He raised his hands. Look, I've seen how they fight. They don't compromise. They don't take prisoners unless they want to make an example. They'll throw everything at you until there's nothing left. Myra's eyes narrowed. And what do you suggest? Elias stared at the tactical display. The cruisers moved in perfect formation, a net tightening around them. But he noticed something, a gap, a subtle misalignment between two wings of ships. There, he said, pointing. They've left an opening near the lower orbital plane. It's bait, sure, but they won't expect you to charge it head on. You break through. You hit their supply carriers at the back. The whole formation stumbles. The tactical officer snorted. That's suicide. Elias smirked grimly. So is staying here? Myra studied the display, then him, then the display again. Finally, she barked. Helm, set course for grid 87. Tactical, prepare forward batteries. Engineering, overcharge the drives. The crew hesitated. Only a heartbeat before obeying. Orders snapped across the bridge. Systems roared to life. The Andromeda shuddered as its engines built power. Elias gripped the rail. His blood sang. It was just like the old days facing impossible odds, with nothing but human stubbornness and a bit of luck. Punch it, Mira ordered. The Andromeda roared forward. The break through the Ilari cruisers fired in unison, lances of plasma streaking toward the human warship. Shields flared, sparks dancing across the bridge as the ship shook violently. Shields holding at 70%. Forward batteries fire. Mira shouted. The Andromeda's guns spat blazing fury, tearing into the cruisers ahead. Explosions lit the void. Two enemy ships crumpled, their black hulls shattering into fire. The formation wavered. Drive us through. Mira barked. The warship surged into the gap, engines screaming. Enemy fire rained down, but the Andromeda plowed forward, like a beast unleashed. Behind them, the blockade scrambled, ships colliding in chaos. Elias clung to the rail, adrenaline burning through him. Against all odds, it was working. Target their carriers. Mira commanded. Missiles streaked out, slamming into the rear. Supply ships. Fuel pods erupted, chain explosions tearing through the enemy ranks. The Ilari fleet faltered, its precision shattered. Cheers erupted across the bridge. For the first time in years, Elias saw humans smiling in battle. But then the tactical officer's voice cut through the celebration. Captain, New contacts inbound, multiple warp signatures. The display lit up with fresh enemy blips. Bigger, heavier. A dreadnought, flanked by destroyers. The Andromeda had bloodied the swarm. But now the real monster had arrived. Mira's face hardened. All hands, race for heavy engagement. Elias's stomach dropped. He knew that silhouette. He had seen it over Earth's skies, burning cities into ash. The Ilari dreadnought Vorith. The ship that had ended the defense of Mars. And now it was here, hunting them. Asterisk clash with the Vorith. Void outside the Andromeda turned blood red as the Ilari dreadnought Vorith emerged from warp. Its hull stretched like a blade across the stars, dwarfing the cruisers that escorted it. Its guns glowed like suns, each one capable of tearing a continent apart. On the bridge, silence reigned. Elias felt the weight of it pressing on his chest. He had seen the Vorith before, once hovering over Mars as the colonies burned. Its weapons had carved through humanity's defenses like paper. He remembered the screams over the coms, the desperate pleas for help that never came. He clenched, the rail so hard his knuckles whitened. "That's the ship," he whispered. "That's the one that broke us." Myra's eyes flicked to him, sharp but steady. "Then today, Kane, we break it." The crew stirred at her words, fear tempered by something else. Determination. The Vorith's come signal thundered across the bridge. A guttural voice, cold and cruel, filled the air. "Human ghosts, you crawl from extinction, only to be erased again. I am Commander Krill of the Vorith. Power down your vessel. Submit, or I will scatter your atoms across this system." Myra smirked, lips thin. "Patch me through." The com officer nodded. Asterisk. "This is Captain Mira Holt of the United Nations Stellar Navy," she said, her voice ringing with steel. "Earth lives. Humanity fights. And today, Krill, we remind the Empire why. You should fear us." She cut the channel before he could reply. The Vorith's guns lit the void. The first salvo, the dreadnought's opening volley, slammed into the Andromeda's shields. The entire ship lurched, alarms blaring, sparks flying from consoles. Crew members braced themselves, faces grim, shields down to 40%. "Return fire." Mira barked. The Andromeda's forward batteries unleashed hell. Plasma and kinetic rounds streaked into the black, slamming into the Vorith's escorts. One destroyer erupted in fire, another veered away smoking. But the dreadnought itself barely flinched. Elias's gut twisted. Their guns were gnats against a hurricane. Mira turned to him suddenly. "Kane, you've seen this beast before? Weaknesses?" He froze. Memories flashed, battle reports, desperate engineers shouting into failing comms. A single piece of intel whispered too late. "The ventral heat sinks," he said quickly. "Massive power draw for the main cannon. When it fires, the sinks flare wide open to vent plasma. You hit them then, and the whole system could cascade." Myra nodded sharply. "Helm, get us under her belly. Tactical, lock missiles on the ventral grid. Engineering, brace the drives. We're going to take a beating." Asterisk, the Andromeda dove, engines howling. Beams of molten fire slashed past, lighting the void. The dreadnought tracked them with cold precision, its escorts snapping at their flanks. Shields down to 20%. Elias's hands shook as he gripped the rail. If Myra's gamble failed, they'd be space dust. Into the furnace, the Vorith's main cannon began to charge. Light built along its spine, bright as a newborn star. Every sensor screamed warning tones. Missile bays armed. A tactical officer shouted, "Now!" Mira roared. Asterisk, the Andromeda fired everything. Missiles streaked downward, weaving through a storm of flak. The Vorith unleashed its cannon at the same moment, a beam of annihilation slicing through space. Andromeda twisted hard, the beam grazing past, melting armor, oiling decks. Men and women screamed as consoles blew. The ship shook like it would tear apart, but the missiles found their mark. The ventral heat, sinks flared wide, then detonated. Chain of explosions ripped across the Vorith's belly, fire spewing into the void. The dreadnought Asterisk staggered, its mighty cannon flickering and failing. The escorts panicked, their formation collapsing. Shears erupted across the bridge. Direct hit. But the celebration died as quickly as it began. The Vorith was crippled, not dead. Its secondary batteries roared to life, hundreds of smaller cannons vomiting fire in every direction. The Andromeda was caught in the storm. Shields collapsing. Hull breach on decks 6 and 9. The ship screamed in protest, metal groaning, alarms wailing. Elias was thrown against the rail, blood filling his mouth. Mira braced herself at the command chair, her voice a whip. "We're not finished yet. Helm, full burn past her bow. Tactical, target her bridge tower. If we can't sink her, we'll blind her." The crew obeyed, battered but unbroken. The Andromeda surged forward, weaving through the inferno, guns. Blazing got through the viewport. Elias saw it, the Vorith's command tower, looming like a jagged crown. And inside it, he knew, sat Commander Krill. His chest burned with rage. "For Mars," he whispered, "dot the strike." The Andromeda's railguns thundered, slamming round after round into the Vorith's bridge. Explosions tore across the tower, glass, and metal shattering into the void. The dreadnought reeled, its cannons faltering. The Empire's invincible monster was wounded, but victory came at a price. Another salvo from the Vorith smashed into the Andromeda, tearing a gaping wound across her port side. Fire and atmosphere vented into space. Deck 12 is gone. Casualties everywhere. The bridge shook violently, smoke choking the air. Myra gritted her teeth. "We can't take another hit like that." Elias staggered to his feet. His heart pounded, his ears rang, but his mind was clear. He knew what had to be done. "I can get you a shot at her reactor," he said hoarsely. "But someone's got to go inside. You crippled her heat sinks. That means their coolant lines are exposed. I can overload them from within?" Myra stared at him. "That's a suicide run." "Maybe," Elias said, his voice steady. "But if we don't kill that beast now, it'll hunt us to the edge of the galaxy. You know, I'm right." The bridge fell silent. Finally, Mira gave. A short, sharp nod. "Prep a boarding pod." "Kane, you're going into the lion's mouth." Elias drew a long breath. For years, he had hidden, survived, endured. Now at last, he had a purpose again. He glanced at Vera, who had been silent. At the edge of the bridge, eyes wide with fear. She stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. "Then I go with him." Elias blinked. "Vera, no. You saved me from the Empire once," she said, mandibles clicking with resolve. "I will not let you face them alone. My people know the Empire's systems. I can guide you." Myra studied the two of them. Then she gave. A sharp nod. "So be it. You leave in 5. Elias's heart hammered. He met Vera's gaze, saw the determination in her alien eyes. And for the first time since Mars burned, he didn't feel alone. Asterisk into the lion's mouth, the boarding pod, was little more than a steel coffin with thrusters. Its walls rattled, its seats shook, and its targeting system screamed as it locked onto the Vorith's scarred hull. Elias strapped in, hands trembling. He had done drops before into combat zones, into fire, but this was different. This wasn't just a mission. This was humanity's second chance, and the weight of it pressed hard against his chest. Beside him, Vera fastened her harness, her mandibles clenching tight. Her insectoid frame seemed out of place in the crude human craft, but her eyes burned with the resolve Elias recognized. Fear lived there, yes, but it did not control her. "Are you sure about this?" Elias asked quietly. Her antennae twitched. "No, but I am sure about you." Before he could reply, the pod fired. The world became fire and thunder. The pod rocketed across the void, enemy fire lashing past in streaks of light. One bolt grazed the hull, shaking them like dice in a cup. The targeting computer shrieked warnings, then fell silent as the Vorath loomed larger and larger. Impact. In 3, 2. The pod slammed into the dreadnought's belly with a gut-wrenching crunch. Metal screamed. The nose burrowed deep, fusing into the hull. Explosive bolts fired, blowing the hatch open. The lion's mouth had swallowed them. Whole, the belly of the beast, the interior of the Vorath was dark, oppressive, built for fear. Black metal walls stretched high, lit by blood-red emergency lights. The air stank of oil and something acrid, almost rotten. Elias raised his stolen blaster, covering the corridor. Vera slipped beside him, claws flexing nervously. "This way," she whispered, her antennae twitching. "The coolant lines run beneath the central reactor spire. If we overload them, the cascade will tear this ship apart." Elias nodded. "Then we move fast, before they know we're here." They sprinted through the corridors, boots clanging on metal, breath echoing in the silence. But the silence didn't last. Shadows moved ahead. Ilari soldiers poured into the hall, black armor gleaming, rifles humming. Elias dove for cover, firing bursts that lit the corridor. Soldiers dropped, screeching in pain, but more surged forward. Vera leapt onto one, her claws tearing through its helmet, mandibles snapping with brutal efficiency. "You fight like a human," Elias muttered, blasting another. She hissed back, "I fight because of you." They cut through the squad, panting, bloodied but alive. Elias's blaster hissed on empty. He cursed and scavenged another rifle from the fallen dot. No time to rest. They pushed deeper. The reactor spire, the reactor chamber stretched like a cathedral of fire. A towering column of energy pulsed at the center, arcs of plasma crawling along. Its surface, massive coolant conduits snaked across the walls, glowing faint blue. "This is it," Vera said, pointing. "Overload the conduits, and the plasma surge will." Her words cut off as a voice filled the chamber, amplified, dripping venom. "I wondered who would be foolish enough to crawl inside my ship." Elias's blood ran cold. Commander Krill stepped. From the shadows, towering in black armor, a jagged blade in one clawed hand. His helmet split open to reveal a face like a nightmare, mandibles curved with scars, eyes burning with cruel intelligence. Asterisk, he had killed countless humans. Elias knew it in his bones. Krill sneered. "A human rat, and a traitorous insect. Fitting prey for the hunter who ended your kind." Elias raised his rifle. "We're not extinct, not yet." Krill moved faster than seemed possible. His blade slashed the rifle in half, sparks sprang. Elias staggered back, barely ducking the killing blow. Vera lunged, claws flashing. Krill swatted her aside like a toy, sending her crashing into a coolant pipe. She screamed, clutching her side. Elias's fury burned. He grabbed a fallen pipe wrench, swinging it with a roar. Steel clanged against Krill's armor, driving the commander back a step. "You destroyed Mars," Elias shouted, swinging again. "You burned Earth's skies." Krill snarled, catching the wrench in one claw and ripping it from his grasp. He flung it aside like scrap. "I ended your species. You are already dead." Elias's chest heaved, sweat stinging his eyes. His blaster was gone. His strength waned. But something else burned inside him, something Krill could never understand. Hope. Behind Krill, Vera staggered to her feet. Her claws gripped the coolant controls. She met Elias's eyes, mandibles tight with resolve. Elias understood. He gave her the faintest nod. Krill turned, sensing movement but too late. Vera slammed her claws into the controls. The conduit screamed as plasma surged, alarms wailing. Blue fire raced along the walls. No! Krill roared, charging toward her. Elias hurled himself at the commander, tackling him with every ounce of strength left in his battered body. They crashed to the floor, struggling, claws against fists, rage against desperation. The coolant system shrieked as it overloaded. Energy built to a breaking point. Vera shouted over the roar, "Elias go!" But Elias knew one truth. If he left, Krill would cut her down before the cascade finished, and he would not abandon her. Fire and ashes. The Vorith's reactor chamber became a storm of fire. Sirens wailed, red lights strobed, and plasma arced across the walls like lightning. The overload countdown screamed in alien glyphs. Elias didn't need translated. The ship was seconds from tearing itself apart, but Commander Krill didn't care. The towering warlord slammed Elias into the deck, claws digging into his chest plate. "You think you can destroy me?" he hissed. "I have ended worlds. I ended yours." Elias's vision blurred. His ribs screamed with every breath. But through the haze, he saw Vera, crawling toward the emergency hatch controls, her body. Scorched and bleeding. Kryl raised his blade for the kill, and Elias smiled through bloodied teeth. "You didn't end humanity." He drove his thumbs into Krill's mandibles, forcing the alien's face upward, just as an arc of plasma erupted from the overloaded conduit. Blue fire cascaded across Krill's head and shoulders, his scream shaking. The chamber. The warlord staggered back, armor melting, claws flailing. "Vera!" Elias roared. She slammed her claws into the hatch release. The floor panels beneath them split open, revealing a maintenance chute leading down toward the pod hangars. "Go!" she shouted, mandibles trembling. Elias stumbled toward her, lungs burning, body failing. But Krill wasn't finished. Half his face melted, armor glowing red-hot. He lurched forward with inhuman rage. "I will not fall," he snarled. Elias grabbed the fallen pipe wrench, still glowing from plasma heat. With the last of his strength, he swung it in a wide arc. The molten steel connected with Krill's skull. The warlord collapsed into the flames, shrieking as the reactor's light swallowed him whole. Elias dropped the wrench, chest heaving. He turned to Vera. Time to go. They dove into the maintenance chute, just as the chamber exploded. Escape. The chute spat them into a hangar where escape pods lined the walls. Fires raged, soldiers screamed, bulkheads tore apart. The Vorith was dying around them. Elias and Vera threw themselves into a pod. He slammed the hatch shut, hit the launch controls. The pod rocketed free, spiraling into the void. Behind them, the Vorith convulsed. Its entire spine split open, plasma venting like a volcanic eruption. For one breathless moment, it looked like a wounded beast thrashing against death. Then it tore apart in a blinding explosion that lit the heavens. The shockwave hurled their pod spinning, alarms shrieking. Elias held Vera tight as fire filled the stars, and when the light faded, the Vorith was gone. Aftermath. The Andromeda recovered them minutes later, battered but alive. The hangar crew pulled them from the pod, cheering, weeping. Vera collapsed into Medic's arms, her body broken, but her spirit unbowed. Elias staggered to the deck, bloodied and burned. The crew surrounded him, faces shining with awe. For years they had fought alone, a ghost ship in the dark. Now they had proof humanity wasn't finished. Captain Mera approached, her uniform scorched, her eyes sharp with respect. She extended a hand. "You saved this ship," she said. "You reminded us what it means to fight." Elias clasped her hand, his grip firm despite the pain. "No, we saved each other. That's what humans do." The crew erupted in cheers. For the first time in years, hope echoed in human voices. Raven days later, the Andromeda descended once more over Riven. Not as a phantom, but as a victor. The Ilari garrison had fled after the Vorith's destruction. Their fear spreading like wildfire dot, the people poured into the streets, staring up at the human warship. They had lived under the Empire's shadow for generations. Now, for the first time, they saw the shadow crack. Ilias stood at the balcony of the Andromeda's observation deck, watching. Vera stood beside him, her body wrapped in bandages, but her eyes alive with quiet pride. "They will rise," she said softly. "Your victory is theirs. The Empire will not hold them now." Elias nodded. "And when they rise, they won't be alone. Humanity's back in the fight." Mira joined them, arms folded, gaze fixed on the horizon. The Vorith's destruction will echo across the galaxy. Every slave, every beaten world will hear it. But so will the Empire. They'll come for us harder than ever. Elias's lips curved into a grim smile. "Then let them. We've been underestimated before." The three of them stood together, human soldier, alien outcast, and captain of the last warship of Earth, watching the people of Riven cheer in defiance of their masters. And above them, the Andromeda hovered like a promise. Not a ghost, not extinction, not a beginning. Epilogue: in the deep chambers of the Ilari throne world, the High Council received word of the Vorith's destruction. The chamber buzzed with outrage, denial, fear. "Impossible," some hissed. "The humans are gone," others spat. But the Emperor himself rose from his throne, his many eyes narrowing. "Not gone," he whispered. "Not yet. Humanity has crawled back from death. And if they are allowed to rise again," his mandibles clicked sharp and final, "they will become the Empire's worst fear.